Hey everybody, thanks for playing World of Tanks. Thanks for taking a look at this World of Tanks video. I'm Pearl Anthem, and with this channel we don't really focus on being amazing players. We do like to focus on improving our game and learning to play the game in new ways. And we also focus on more on team play and team wins than on individual performance. So here we go. At the beginning of this match, in that countdown time frame, we did see one of our players there kind of click on the map in a way that indicated a progression from the enemy spawn toward the city. I kind of responded by clicking on about F4, kind of close to our spawn, but also kind of in the middle, and certainly on our side of the map and away from that town area. I'm not sure what my ally meant to indicate there with those clicks. Looking back, it may be the case that we're actually kind of referring to the same kind of thing, or seeing the same kind of information. It seems like maybe my teammate was indicating again that progression from the enemy spawn into the town, and I was certainly indicating a position on our side of the map and kind of in the open. If we look at the top of the screen, if we look at the two rows of tanks there, we see our team has 3 heavies, 3 mediums, 2 light tanks, and 6 tank destroyers. The enemy team, by contrast, has 7 heavy tanks, 4 mediums, 1 light, and 1 destroyer. So their team has a much heavier composition than our team has. That indicates, that suggests at least a likelihood that their team, by and large, is going to be moving toward that town area as opposed to the open field. The reason why we can expect the enemy team to go toward the town area and not so much toward the open parts of the map is because of that heavier composition that we can see on the team's roster, including that row at the top of the screen. Heavier tanks, generally speaking, we can expect to benefit from a town environment which tends to involve more close range or close quarters fighting, and fighting that involves the use of things like corners or the edges and the sides of buildings and things like that. And so those close quarters or those close ranges, they're going to benefit the reduced accuracy of heavy tank guns as contrasted with, say, the accuracies of maybe mediums or tank destroyers. And the uses of the buildings and those corners and things, that's going to kind of maybe contribute to the use of techniques like side scraping. But just generally, those tight quarters or those close ranges, and then the presences of like the edges of the buildings, the corners of the buildings, maybe piles of rubble, that kind of stuff is going to increase, generally speaking, the effectiveness of armor if that armor is used properly. And so if we're aware of that, we can kind of anticipate that the enemy teams, a lot of their heavies with that heavier composition, they're going to be moving toward the town. And our team, with more lights, more mediums, more tank destroyers, it might be the case that our team is going to, we can kind of surmise that our team is going to benefit more from playing more of the field, more of the open areas in this map than their team would. And we can see indeed that that's kind of how these our two teams here have deployed. That heavier enemy team indeed has tended to go to the town, and our lighter team, maybe our more mobile team, has tended to make use of more of the open spaces and the open fields in this map. So the two teams there did indeed kind of tend to play toward their team's strengths, at least the strengths of the compositions. They have a few guys at this point, four heavies basically in our spawn area, including 1 on our capture point so far. And those guys did indeed go down south into the town area and then go west toward our spawn Our team has now 3 guys on the enemy team capture point as we moved into the open spaces and kind of won the fight for those open spaces generally. And so this has kind of gone as we might expect, and I think that this approach to the game of kind of using the familiarity of the map and kind of matching that up with what we can see about the compositions of the 2 teams is, I think, one of those things it's not readily available to new players. I think that it does kind of take quite a bit of familiarity with the map, and then just kind of learning that different tanks, different types of tanks are going to benefit from different approaches to those different map spaces. But yeah, that's one of those things that can be very useful, definitely worthwhile, and it's one of those things that maybe it maybe isn't really obvious. We can kind of expect that if our team had moved into that town area in the southeast corner, and if their heavier vehicles had also gone that way, they would have had the upper hand with those close quarters, greater numbers of hit points, better armor, stronger guns. Generally speaking, they probably would have clearly had the upper hand. If their heavies had gone into the open areas, our team, with the greater mobility and probably the more accurate guns, would probably have had the upper hand there. So both teams used their strengths. Thanks for taking a look at this World of Tanks video. Thanks for playing World of Tanks.